Hello, Year 4. We've got another English lesson for you today. Welcome to Monday's English lesson. You can see from the page that we're looking at, we've got some exciting new learning to do this week. And this week's English is going to start our new book study. So last week when we were learning about King Alfred, we finished that unit of work now. So we're going to move on to a new unit of work, which is going to involve us reading a book together. And the book that we're going to be studying is called The Horned Helmet, and you can see it's by the author Henry Treece. Here he is, we can see him up here. And I've got two front covers on the screen here for you, because although the words inside the books are the same, you can see there's two different publishers, so two different front covers, but the stories inside are exactly the same. And in fact, you can see here, I've got one of the examples there for you. I've included both of those front covers because I think they both give us a few clues as to what the story might be about. So we can see the title is called The Horned Helmet, and we can see a character in this story here. He looks like quite a fierce character. I can see he's got a sword and a shield. That might give you some clues as to what the story's about. I can also see what appears to be a sail of a boat, perhaps a longboat in the background there. And again, I can see another, looks like a warrior on the boat here with a sword, with a shield. And again, on this front cover, I can see what appears to be a helmet with a couple of swords through it. And some sort of special power, perhaps. As I say, these lines suggest that there might be a special power. So using all of those clues, you can see that we've chosen this as our study because this is a Viking story, okay? And from reading this story over the next few weeks, we are going to really get into depth of exactly what Viking life was like, okay? So this was set during Viking times, and you can see here that the story was set in the year 1015 AD, okay? And at that time, that was when the Vikings had been invading. They'd arrived in Britain, and we know that they came from other countries, just like the Anglo-Saxons did. So the Vikings travelled in their longboats, and they travelled on the seas, and they would arrive in different countries. And once they got there, they would invade. So you can see here I've included when they were invading that they would be pillaging and looting the places they travelled to. That means that they would often attack and maybe steal and rob anything that they wanted when they got there. But as well as invading places, they might also settle in those places. So some Vikings might arrive in a place and decide that actually this was the place that they were looking for, and they would settle there and they'd choose to live there, and they might build their homes there, and that was the place that they would decide they were going to stay. Okay. The other thing that's really important to know about these Vikings is that they came from lots of different countries, particularly those northern countries, and would travel the seas to different places that they fancied. So Britain was one of the places that they would arrive to, but you could see they came from lots of different places. These Nordic places, and places like Norway and Sweden, Finland, and you can see here some other places as well that they would come from. And they would travel the seas on their longships and end up wherever their ships would take them. When they arrived in those places, we know that they could do some real damage. The story of the Horned Helmet is set starts off in the land of Iceland, okay, where the Vikings were travelling from, okay. And we know that this story is set in the year when the Vikings had been travelling to Britain for quite a long time, okay. As we begin the story, we're going to meet a character called Bjorn. Now, Bjorn is only a small boy. Okay, he's probably only around about your age. The story doesn't actually tell us exactly how old he is, but using the clues as we read through, you'll be able to tell that he is quite young. Okay, and he's a young boy, and we will follow this young boy Bjorn all the way through the story. Okay. So we are very lucky in year 4 because the lovely Miss Eddleston is going to do the story reading for us. So each time throughout all of our English lessons, whenever you see this symbol, that is your cue to head on over to the Harrison Primary School YouTube channel and find the chapter reading that Miss Eddleston has put on there for you. Okay, so she's going to begin the chapter, the first chapter for us today, and she is going to read the chapter that's called Cole's Judgment. Okay, and while you're listening to Miss Eddleston reading, I've got 3 questions here that I'd like you to think about. Okay, and I want you to be jotting down your answers to these questions, either while you're listening to Miss Eddleston reading the story, or you can pause the story and write it throughout. Okay, it's completely up to you if you don't want to miss any. But I want you to think about these 3 things. We're going to find out when Miss Eddleston's reading that Bjorn is all alone in the world. He has no one. Okay, I want you to see if you can figure out why. Why is he all alone? What's happened to his family members, or what's happened to his friends? Okay. Question 2, the question that I want you to think about, is what's happened to his father and why? Okay, we'll find out quite a lot about his father in this first chapter, and I want you to show me your understanding by just jotting down what's happened to his father. And then finally, as you can see there, the third and final question that I want you to be thinking about is the chapter is called Cole's Judgment, and you'll see that Cole is one of the characters in the chapter. And I want you to see if you can figure out what is his judgment. What does Cole decide? Okay, in the chapter. Show me your understanding of that. Okay. So your first task for today's lesson is jot down those questions so that you don't forget them. Okay. And then you're going to pause me so that you can head over to YouTube and listen to chapter 1 of the story, okay, following Miss Eddleston reading. Once you have listened to chapter 1, I want you to come back to me and carry on where we've left off, okay? So pause now and listen to the chapter on YouTube. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that first chapter. You can tell from the first chapter this story is going to be very, very dramatic. There's lots of drama along the way, and you can see right from the first sentence a lot of drama going through that story. So, have you jotted down your answers to those questions? I wonder, why is Bjorn all alone in the world? Now, I know from reading the chapter, and I'm sure you all do too, because I know your comprehension is fantastic. We know that Bjorn has no parents to look after him anymore. I know from in the chapter that his mum was taken from a shipload of Vikings. It said about a year ago when she was down at the shore collecting driftwood for the fire. Okay, she'd gone to the shoreline and she was taken. She was kidnapped by a boat full of Vikings. And since then, Bjorn has never seen his mum. Okay, he doesn't know where she is. He doesn't know if she's safe. But what about his father? So why is he all alone? And that links in really well to question 2. What has happened to his father and why? Now, we found out the answer to that in the first sentence, didn't we? We know in the story it says that his father jumped off the cliff into the sea and he was taken away by the sea. So he chose to jump. Why? Why did he choose to jump? Yes, that's right. We found out later in the chapter that Bjorn's father has been accused of burning down the barn in the village. And because he was accused of burning it down, his punishment was that he was told that he had to fight a very fierce warrior called Glam. Now, we found out that Glam was very, very fierce. He was described in really not a very nice way. And Bjorn knew, as well as everybody else, that his father wouldn't stand a chance to fight this evil warrior. So because he knew he wouldn't stand a chance, and rather than be humiliated in front of all of the villagers and lose the battle in front of everybody, Bjorn's father decided to jump and be drifted away by the sea, never to be seen again. Okay. Now, we know that Bjorn completely didn't want to believe that his father had burned down that barn, and we knew that Bjorn had said that it wasn't his father that burned down the barn. It was lightning. Lightning had set fire to the barn, and it was just an accident. But Cole didn't believe him. Cole didn't believe that that could be possible, because we know that they believed in the different gods. We'll remember those from our Viking saga lessons. And we know that the god of thunder, Thor, was in charge of thunder and lightning. So Cole doesn't even believe that he could ever be responsible for setting fire to his barn. So he decided he was going to blame Bjorn's father. So instead, because Bjorn's father was no longer there, question 3, what was Cole's judgment? Well, we know that Cole's judgment was, because Bjorn's father wasn't there to fight Glam, the judgment was that Bjorn was going to have to be his slave. And a decision was made that Bjorn was going to have to live with Glam, and Glam was going to look after Bjorn, or perhaps not look after Bjorn, and possibly treat him in a really bad way. So Bjorn decided, no, that's not what I want to do, and away he ran. Okay, so I can tell you've got a really good understanding of that first chapter, and I'm already excited to find out about chapter 2. So your task today then, now that we have read that first chapter, and you can go back to that YouTube video and pause it at any time and have a look at the words in the text to help you, I want you to think about that character of Bjorn for today, and I want you to create your own mind map. Right? You could draw a picture of Bjorn in the middle, like I've got here in the middle of your page, or you could just write his name, Bjorn, in the middle of the page. It's completely up to you. But I want you to jot down everything you know about Bjorn so far. We know what's happened to his mum. We know what's happened to his dad. We know what the judgment has been made against him, so we can jot all of those ideas down, and we can take those directly from the text. But I also want you to think about Bjorn's personality, Bjorn's character, how he acts, okay? Perhaps what he believes in and what he feels strongly about, okay? And those things as well could be added to your mind map, all right? That mind map can be recorded on any piece of paper. Don't forget to share them with us, okay? We're looking forward to seeing exactly what you know about that character, okay? And then your final task for today, once you've completed that mind map, I want you to show me your understanding of the chapter by answering each of these questions. Okay, and again, you don't need to be able to print anything out. You can just jot your answers down on a sheet of paper. But I've got a few questions here which are just going to show your understanding of the chapter even better. So the first question there is, why did Bjorn's father throw himself into the sea? So I've said surely there must have been a better solution, but at the time there was incredibly harsh laws. So why did he decide there was no other way out? Why did he decide to jump off that cliff and into the sea, never to be seen again? Okay, that's your first question. The next question that I want you to think about is, we're told that Bjorn's father burned down Glam's barn, and the chief of their tribe declared that the argument should be settled by a fight. What's your opinion of that? Do you think that's fair? Do you think he should have had a fight? What other factors should be considered? So they've already decided that Bjorn's father was guilty. How else could they have solved that, perhaps? Should someone just be able to accuse one another? If you don't think that's fair, why not? Can you explain your reasons? And then what do you suggest could be a fairer way to solve the problem? Okay, how would you solve that, perhaps, if that was you, if you were in charge of the village? And then finally, was it cowardly of Bjorn's father? So what I mean by that is, does it show that he was really scared and he didn't want to face up to the truth? Okay, did he choose the wrong option and be a bit of a coward by throwing himself into the sea rather than fight to his death? Or do you think he's made the right choice? Okay, so there's no right or wrong answer to these questions, but I want you to share your opinion with me, okay? Share me what you think are the answers to these questions. Now, all of these slides from this lesson are included on the Google Drive, so you can work through them at your own pace, okay? Good luck for today then. I look forward to seeing your answers to your questions and your mind maps, and I'll see you back again tomorrow. Bye bye.